Hello, I'm Dr. John Smelcer, and welcome to another episode of Ahtna Mythology. This is episode 11. I shaved my beard for the first time in decades, and I think I look weird, so I hope you don't make fun of me. The other day I posted two Ahtna monster stories about the Taslina Lake monster and the ice worm, the giant ice worm monster. And my father-in-law asked me if there were any Ahtna stories about a Bigfoot or Sasquatch kind of figure in our mythology. And there is. I'll tell you, all my life I've heard my aunts, uncles, grandfather, grandma warn me, don't stray too far from the house because a Bigfoot will get you. We call them bush Indians. Our word for it is bush Indians. And they're like humans, only taller, bigger, hairy all over, like Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And like Lucille Brenwick of Copper Center once told me a story of how parents would caution children not to go out in the dark, not to go too far to the creek, not to go down by the lake, without an adult, because the bush Indians might get you. And so the story goes that they might catch you and use you as a slave, or they might catch you and even eat you. And one of my other relatives, Joe Second Chief, he was married to Maury Second Chief. So she was my great aunt, and he was my great uncle. But in our culture, we call a great aunt and a great uncle grandma and grandpa. That's just, because they're basically the same person as your grandma and grandpa. They're brother or sister. So in 1995, I think, Joe sat down at his cabin there in Ahtna and told me this story. He remembered it was way back around 1948, so right around the World War II time, way before the pipeline and oil, way before there was even the highways through Alaska, He was going to Old Man Lake, and I've been to Old Man Lake. It's one of the lakes around Lake Louise, and that's not very far from where he spent his adult life in Ahtna. And he was hunting moose and caribou back there one fall. And he had a little cabin. He always had this little hunting cabin, very small, made out of logs. And one night he heard something outside. And it started trying to rip the door open. And it made the weirdest sound. And it wasn't a bear. He knows bears better than anybody. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a wolf. It was big. Then it got up on the roof. It was like trying to rip the roof apart because he had a sod roof on top of the cabin, and it was up there trying to rip through. And he had his rifle, and he just sat there with that rifle aiming at that door for hours. And he said it finally stopped. And he went outside with his gun, and he looked around, and what he saw in some muddy footprints near the creek were what looked like human footprints, only enormous, size 14 and barefoot. And it wasn't a bear. They're very distinct. Wasn't a wolf. He swears it was a Bigfoot. So yes, we do have Bigfoot or Sasquatch stories. Hope you enjoyed this.